Hey everybody, welcome on back. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you very much for being here. Hopefully you guys are having a good day. Today we are going to be testing out Dying Light 2 Stay Human on the PC. We're going to see how this game runs on an RTX 3080 with a 5950X in my system. So this benchmark will actually be testing the game on a fairly high-end system like mine, and to see how the game actually can perform on a high-end system. So you guys should be able to take these numbers and scale them down accordingly to your system. If you have like a mid-tier or low-end system, you should be able to look at these numbers and see if it'll run good on your PC. But before we do that, I would just like to jump in real quick and just say that I apologize for the lack of uploads in the last couple of months. It has been a long time since I've actually uploaded a video, and that's simply because I've kind of been stumped on what I wanted to upload onto this channel. The last time I actually uploaded a video was around the Outriders time, and Outriders simply just did not have the continued longevity that I would have hoped for, and the community just kind of disappeared. The game didn't get any updates, so I just didn't really have anything I wanted to post. And because the main source of income for me, my job, is streaming on Twitch for 8 hours a day, I rarely take days off. So because I stream so much, I don't really have the time to sit here and try to record a bunch of videos. So my goal has always been to make as many videos as I can, but recently I have basically been super busy with games. So with that being said, if you guys do want to hang out with me, if you guys do want to come on over to the Twitch side of things, you guys totally can. We would love to have you over there. It would be super cool to have you guys over there. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I will try my best to continuously upload as much as I can on the YouTube. I have some ideas in the works, so if you guys want to subscribe for that, that'd be awesome. If you guys want to hang out on the Twitch channel, you guys are more than welcome to. The link will be in the description down below. But without further ado, let's go ahead and test out some Dying Light 2. So again, the system that I'm running this on is a Ryzen 9 5950X with an RTX 3080 and 32 gigabytes of RAM. You guys should be able to see all of the numbers over here on this top right-hand corner, but you have all 32 cores, you have the general CPU usage down here, and you have the total RAM usage as well, GPU usage, temperature, and all that. You have all the information you could possibly want right here. So we are currently running the game in full screen mode with, if we go into the advanced settings here, we are running it on DirectX 12 Ultimate Ray Tracing version of it. But if we go ahead and scroll down here, you see I have everything set up to be the highest it possibly can be. Everything with ray tracing on. This game does not seem to have DLSS support. It just has a screen size changer, so you can change the resolution, like downscaling it factor and stuff like that. So we have it at the highest settings we possibly can right now to test it at the just most beautiful level that it can possibly produce. So let's go see how this game runs. Alright, this is the first bit of gameplay. I'm going to try to cut out as many spoilers as I can, so all the intro cinematics, all the talking and stuff like that. I'm going to cut all that out and just show you guys the actual gameplay side of things to try to remove as many spoilers for you guys who are trying to avoid that as possible. So in the first bit of gameplay, the second we get control of our character, you guys can see we're running at about 55-ish FPS with everything turned up to 11 at 1080p. So if we look out towards the distance, we're getting about 75 because nothing's really being rendered. But once we turn back around and look towards where they actually want me to go, I'm sure there's like more stuff over that way and, you know, cities, things over there and stuff like that. So there's more being loaded. We're actually not using much of our CPU here. Very few of our cores are actually being used, and if they do be used, they're not going above, I'm seeing like maybe 25 to 30%, which is nice. We are using 16 gigabytes of RAM though, but I have 32 gigabytes of RAM, so that's only about 50%. And I think if you have 16 gigabytes of RAM, it shouldn't really be a problem. They usually can dictate how much RAM you have and how much files you can load based on how much RAM you have. So if you only have 16, you're probably only going to run maybe 10 to 12 gigabytes, maybe 15 at the most. Some games do push it kind of close, but I have 32 gigabytes, so it's currently only using half of my RAM. So for the video memory at the top, in the green letters there, we are running at almost 10 gigabytes of video RAM, which I have a 3080, so we are pretty much maxing out our video RAM. We have very little room left, We are pushing our GPU to the limit, though. It's at 99% the whole way through. We're getting about 50 FPS here with everything turned out to 11. So if we wanted to, really quickly, I could keep this view right here and just turn off the ray tracing and then see what it looks like and see what our performance numbers go up to. So right now we're about 64 FPS at 1080p. Let's see what this looks like without ray tracing. Alright, there we go. Ray tracing is now off. We are just running the game at the highest settings that are not ray tracing, and we're already instantly getting 100 FPS in the same view. You guys can see the overall changes that ray tracing makes to a scene like this, and I gotta say, it still holds up. It still looks really beautiful. Wow. This game, as you can see, looks amazing without the ray tracing on. Still, all the grass is moving, trees are waving and everything. Only a little bit of low LOD there on the actual mountainside, pretty close to us. I'm not sure why that's so low detail already. But yeah, already in the 100 FPS range. So if you're on a higher end system and you just don't really care about ray tracing, you could easily turn it off and get about 100 FPS in this one spot. Let's keep going forward and see how it goes. We're going to turn ray tracing back on, though. So when we come back, we're going to have ray tracing back on, and we are going to see how it continues. All right, so we made it to another area. It's not like a main town or anything, but I did want to show this off because it is incredibly gorgeous. And with ray tracing on, we're still holding about 60-ish FPS, depending on where we look. We are running it at 1080p, so 1080p 60 isn't exactly the best you could get for a high-end system like this, but with ray tracing, I mean, I guess the best we could hope for is that they have a patch that kind of optimizes it over time. But so far, 1080p 60 with this beauty isn't bad. At least I don't think so. But if you guys wanted to see how this exact scene would perform without ray tracing on, let's do that. So let's get a good view so you guys can see how it would look when you turn ray tracing off, and let's see what happens. Alright, so there you go. There's the same exact scene without ray tracing on. You can see that a lot of that little tiny detail on the grass and things like that. It just has a lot less of the really subtle shading to things. But we are up in the 100 FPS range. It is much smoother for me now. So that is good. If you're looking for a smooth experience, you can turn off ray tracing, and this is what you get. About 100 FPS. And if you're looking for the most gorgeous experience, then you can turn on ray tracing, and you're still getting about 50 to 70 FPS roughly, at least in these early stages we are. So the ray tracing performance could use some love. I guess 50-ish FPS on the low end at 1080p isn't exactly the most favorable thing you would want. You might want more than like 50 FPS on the low end at 1080p. So, I mean, not bad. Without the ray tracing on, you're at 100 FPS. It's really smooth. So, and it's still day one. It's only the 5th for me right now when I'm recording this. So you barely have the day one patch. So let's hope that over time they can actually improve the performance for things like ray tracing and stuff like that, and maybe the stability on new hardware. So let's go and see what it looks like in other future areas. I'll catch up with you guys in just a second. All right, so we made it to a new area. We got this beautiful view here. Yet again, we're running at about 60 FPS at 1080p. So give or take your personal preference on frame rate, this may be acceptable, this may not be acceptable given that it's only 1080p. We haven't even tried 1440p or 4K yet. Those will probably be in a later video. I don't really want to make this video too long. So if we take this scene right here in all of its beauty, let's take this scene and let's turn off ray tracing and see what exactly happens. So I'll see you guys in just 1 second. And here you go. Here is without ray tracing on. This is just basic gameplay. And I'll be honest, that does not look great to me. I don't know about you guys and your senses of things and what you deem acceptable for graphics, but for me, that's a pretty big difference. That was gorgeous before, and now it just looks really flat. I mean, it looks good still. It doesn't look terrible, but it definitely loses that sense of wow. It loses the wow factor that ray tracing adds to the scene. So I don't know. I mean, we're back at 100 FPS. It seems to be the running theme for these open areas at the very least, is that with ray tracing on, we're sitting at about 50 to 60 FPS, and with ray tracing off, we're getting about 100. So at the very least, with 1080p on a 3080 like what I have and a 5950X with 32 gigabytes of RAM, you guys can see that we're doing pretty good. Our CPU is only using about 15% total. We're using at most maybe 40 to 50% on one core at a time, but we're never really using that many cores. It's not like our CPU is being bottlenecked at crazy limits or whatever. We are, I think, mostly limited by our GPU in this case. Because even at 1080p without ray tracing on, we're still only using, 15 to 25% of our CPU? But we've been using 99% of our 3080 the whole time. And we've been using 9.4 gigabytes of our 10 on our 3080 as well. So this game definitely could use a 3090, which is why I'm kind of hoping that this game gets a little bit of like an optimization patch somewhere down the line. Because so far, 1080p runs good without ray tracing. Yeah, like 100 FPS is fine, but I would realistically want it to be closer to the 120 to 140 without ray tracing on, and then maybe the 80 to 90 FPS range with ray tracing on. But that's maybe just me being picky. You guys have to decide for yourselves. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys this quick little scene here that we just got to because it was really pretty. So I will see you guys back here in 1 second to see if I can find another thing to show you guys before we end the video. But yeah, I'll see you guys in a second. Alright guys, so we just got to the more open city area here, and as you can see, with ray tracing on, we're getting about 70 FPS from way up here. From way up here in the city area, we're getting about 60 to 70 FPS, so that's pretty good. That is pretty good actually, and it looks beautiful, other than some low levels of detail out towards the edges there, but I mean, that's what you can expect from a big open world game, is they have to lower levels of detail off in the distance, so not too big of a deal, but I just wanted to show you guys this big city area that we just got to and the performance you guys can expect here. So as you can see, we're still using 99% of our GPU. We are using almost all 10 gigabytes. We're using 9.9 gigabytes of our GPU video RAM there. We're using about 25 to 35% of our CPU here, so there are more NPCs, there's more going on, more particles, more things moving. So we're using more of our CPU here, but still not a bad amount. And our RAM, we're using about 15 gigabytes, which hasn't really moved the entire time. This game is really optimized for how much RAM it's going to be using. So not a bad thing there. We're getting about 70 FPS here with ray tracing on. If we want to go ahead and turn ray tracing off, we can go ahead and see what the game would look like here without ray tracing on. So let's go ahead and do that really quickly. And so there you go. There is what the game in this one area looks like without ray tracing on. As you can see, we are now at the 96 to maybe, yeah, about 100 FPS, 95 to 100 FPS here. Super smooth. As you could expect, the frame rate increase makes it feel much smoother here. Still looks really good, though, I gotta say. So other than that last area was probably the biggest difference we could see with ray tracing on and off. And this area doesn't really show that big of a difference. I like it. I like it a lot, yeah. Texture quality holds up. Lighting quality holds up. The shadows don't exactly look super different here. That last area was a huge difference, so not bad. Not bad. Again, this video is just going to be the 1080p numbers. We will probably do 1440p and 4K numbers in a separate video. But so far, in DirectX 12, this runs really nice. With ray tracing on, ray tracing off, it runs really good. I would say the only thing I would hope for is that because it is so close after launch, it's only the one day after launch, the only thing I could really hope for is that this game would actually have some sort of optimization patch relatively soon to kind of bring those 1080p numbers up. Having 50 FPS as the low end for 1080p is not great, because imagine what 1440p and 4K are going to run like. It's going to be 40 and 30 FPS respectively for each resolution, things like that. So, well, maybe. That's what I'm assuming it's going to be at least. So, alright, let's go ahead and turn ray tracing back on as we close out the video. So, that will do it for this video today, guys. If you guys do want to see the 1440p and 4K numbers, do be sure to subscribe to the channel for when I upload that. But thank you guys very much for hanging out. Thank you very much for being here. If you guys are new here, feel free to hit that subscribe button on your way out, like button as well if you guys enjoyed the video, if it was helpful to you. Go ahead and comment, you know, any questions you guys may have. I'll try to answer them in the comment section below. Plus, we have people here who can probably answer that as well. So, thank you very much for watching, guys. Thank you very much for being here, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys!